Hello and welcome to Five for Friday for this Friday, September 23rd, coming to you from our second home here in Bayfield, Wisconsin on the shores of Lake Superior. Just a reminder, I always am looking for a variety of stories that I think might be beneficial to small business owners. You never know when some kind of amazing inspiration will strike you, and sometimes hearing some of these stories and thinking about how they might relate to your business can be just that inspiration. So I hope you find the stories entertaining and perhaps inspirational. And with that, let's get started. Let's start with our story number one, China and the United States. What's going on there? Well, Chinese investors are increasing their investments in VC funds in US companies. They are decreasing their purchases and even selling commercial real estate in the United States. Not a fan of owning real estate here in the country any longer. We are seeing that US executives working for TikTok are leaving TikTok because they apparently have very little control over what's going on here. Everything is really based in China. So something to be alert to if you are an avid TikTok user or poster. In addition, we're seeing a lot of increases in Chinese robots and automation. They're recognizing the lack of potential employees and trying to address that through automation. And then finally, in the China and US section, let's talk a little bit about artificial intelligence and the fact that right now China is leading the US in the development of artificial intelligence, which according to the article I read could lead to what sounds like some horrific dystopian futures. So time to be innovative here in America and come up with some new artificial intelligence technology. All right, moving on to story number two, has a lot to do with employees and salaries. One change that we're seeing is that some locations, including New York City, are requiring people to post salaries or at least salary ranges. Typically, these are larger companies, but you may start to see it become more of a standard to post salaries and become more transparent about that. I also saw that the average salary for someone who's going to be willing to quit a job and move to work for you if they have work experience is hitting about $73,000 a year now. So be advised. Interesting article on the NHL and how hockey players reacted when they found out the salaries of their teammates. And what did they do? They tried to stand out more individually, and teamwork suffered. So I thought that was an interesting potential message about transparent salaries. Other things going on in the world of hiring, also consider the value beyond salary of things like vacation time and giving people truly that time off to take a break and not have to respond to emails and still kind of work while they're on their break. And of course, remote work is never going away. We're seeing some of it in even laboratories where scientists are working remotely and robots are handling the experimentation component. So interesting to see. Think about what that might mean for your future. Moving on to story number three, trucks and distribution. What we're seeing first is that people are trying to move to electro fuel as an alternative fuel source that's a little more climate friendly. And that may also lead to an additional shift that we're seeing using hydrogen for fuel. Of course, ultimately, people's goal seems to be moving towards electric vehicles and then ultimately autonomous vehicles, which again, one person forecasted that we're going to see autonomous trucks coming in the next couple years. And I tend to agree based on everything I've been reading. The country of Switzerland has chosen to not worry about trucks or anything else above ground, and they are working busy at building underground tunnels for their distribution. So that's an interesting path to take. Moving on to story number four, cybersecurity. Perhaps you heard that Uber was hacked and their data was shared. Another story talked about John Deere running into issues with their tractors being hacked. And that, I guess just for me, I can picture, a whole bunch of tractors all working together to run people down or cows down or something. So, again, just belying the importance of cybersecurity, whether that's for a huge company or for your own business. Don't lose track of that importance. Moving on to story number five, electric vehicles. Right now, apparently, electric vehicles are hugely popular in Norway. They're the number one purchased vehicle. Over 80% of new cars purchased in Norway are electric. In the US, it's only about 5%. We are seeing a huge increase in demand, however, and the supply can't quite keep up with that. Part of the reason for that is because of the batteries, and part of the reason with the battery issue is lack of the raw materials, the minerals needed to produce the batteries. China right now is the #1 producer of batteries for EVs, and countries are looking for a way to find alternatives to China. One possible alternative is a mine in Quebec that does have access to these things, although it's a little bit outdated. It certainly would be a lot closer to the United States. So again, keep following that. I continue to be hesitant about the value of EVs until we solve some of these issues with relating to charging the batteries, reusing the batteries, and building new batteries with what are not renewable resources. So, all right, moving on to recession, yes or no. I'm just going to say it's a mixed bag this week. There's always some pros and some cons, and same thing this week, nothing new. And then I did have 2 bonus stories, one that appealed to the statistics nerd in me that talks about the odds of one town, in this case Mexico City, having an earthquake 3 different years on the exact same day, September 19th. And of course the odds are extremely low. So it's just interesting that someone would even calculate that. And then my second bonus story is to do with the company Kitty Hawk that recently just shut its doors. Their plan was, of course, to build flying electric cars. My Jetsons dream has been crushed. So hopefully someone else has that in the works. And that's what I've got for you this week for 5 for Friday. Thanks again for joining me. Please share these videos with anyone you think who might find them interesting, helpful, or entertaining. Thanks for your time and have a great weekend.